Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 156 of the Book Wars Pod. I'm Kate, and I'm here with Chris and Miranda and Kristen, and Rana's in Norway, so she will not be joining us for this book because she's over there being cool and seeing the Northern Lights, like literally. But yeah, we are here to read The High Republic, Into the Dark by our one of our most favorite authors, Claudia Gray, who is here to fucking wreck us emotionally, I'm sure. We've only read through chapter 12, which is about halfway through the book so far, but, you know, somebody's already died, so that's par for the course there. But before we get into that stuff, what are we drinking, folks?
I have a bad feeling about this.
Indeed.
I like that we added the spoopy music to the beginning of that.
Really?
I mean, it works.
It is spoopy.
It is.
It's fitting for
It's
this
fun.
book. It's a very spoopy book.
It's
Yeah.
Claudia Gray. I was texting Kate while I was reading, and I was like, I'm on the second chapter, and I'm having a great time. But I just realized this book is by Claudia Gray.
So it's going to be
It's not going to last.
emotional terrorism.
Correct.
I'm drinking a non-alcoholic beer that they have at Costco, and I wanted to know how it tasted, so I bought it.
Oh.
And I'm also very dehydrated, so I also have 2 giant waters that I'm ignoring and drinking this instead.
How's it
How
going?
does it taste?
It's pretty good. It has it's by from a stupid place. It's called Athletic Brewing Co., of course. But it's the Run Wild IPA. Brewed in the USA. Where are you? Oh, you're in San Diego. That makes sense. It says really dumb shit. You
Right
legally
on the
you shouldn't
can,
have
folks.
to sacrifice your ability to be at your best to enjoy great brews. So we create our innovative lineup of refreshing non-alcoholic craft brews.
So they think they made, like,
So,
Gatorade beer.
yeah, I guess. I don't
Neato.
know. Contains less than 0.5% alcohol by volume. So where's the fun in that? Anyway, Burb's drinking a beer. What are you drinking, Burb?
I am drinking a beer. I am having a Fort George beer. That's our friends in Astoria. I'm drinking The Meadow, an unfiltered German-style Pilsner. It doesn't have words on it on the can, but it's pretty, and it's 4.9%, and it's good because it's Fort George, so duh.
I love that one.
Chris, you're looking at something. What is that?
I was going to say, Chris, do you want to explain what we're drinking? 'Cause
Yeah,
have the same
we are
thing.
both drinking the same thing. I was just checking the ABV on ours. It is 5.5% alcohol.
Oh,
It is
good.
the Lemon Berry Sour from Sanitas Brewing Co., located right here in Boulder. And yeah, it's pretty fucking quality. It's
Got an owl. I think all
Hello
Sanitas
there.
beers have I think all Sanitas beers have owls on it, but, like,
That's true.
it's a large owl. It's cute.
Big L.
Big,
It was
big
just
owl.
Puckerfest at a bottle shop that we like here in Portland. I didn't
want
go,
a Pucker Fest. I would like the Puckers.
but Lisa did buy some good sours that we shared. So,
Fuck yeah.
and then one that was kind of weird. It had
Classic.
marshmallow or something, but
Oh.
Marshmallow Sour.
It
That's
was-
fascinating.
it was interesting.
I don't fuck with that.
Kate hates marshmallows,
I
famously.
do also hate marshmallows, famously.
Kate pretty much hates dessert.
I
If,
don't
if this is a thing that people don't know about her.
like sugar. I don't like most sweet things. Like, between my two parents, my mom has a giant sweet tooth, and my dad only eats salt, and I got the salt part. Which is why I'm like this.
You are what you eat, folks.
God fucking damn it. Listen, this is me now. This is great. This is definitely genetics.
I don't like you either.
I never
Precisely.
said that.
So yeah, anyway, that's my life. I hate most sweet things. Chris will bake me something beautiful and I'll be like, cool, and I'll have one slice and then I'll be good for like the week, and then Chris is like, I have a whole cake here, and I'm like, okay.
What about when he makes that lemon tart? Is that tart enough for you?
When did I
That
make
could work.
What did I?
Before
Make.
you moved to Colorado.
Oh, I vaguely remember this.
I think it was the time that I played the Vader game on the Oculus.
Oh yeah. I
Or
remember
maybe it
this
was the
now.
time it could have been the time we watched a non-Star Wars movie. But who's to say?
That doesn't seem like it's a thing that happened.
Speaking of, first of all, I love lemon tarts. I love lemon cake. I love all the lemon things. I think
lemon
it's
is
so
good shit.
good. I think it's so good. You'll only get to answer this question if you listen to the podcast. Would you guys be interested in us doing other non-Star Wars things? I'm just throwing this out there, namely Lord of the Rings. Anyway, tweet at us. Talk to you later.
Tweet at us, hit us up in the Patreon Slack, whatever. But yeah, no, I'll eat sweet things if it's like the bitterest fucking chocolate that you're fucking throwing in there, because then that
Sure.
is bitter fucking chocolate. Better than
Yeah, or bread pudding.
I do love bread pudding because I'm a fucking granny.
I fucking love bread pudding. It's true.
It just makes me nostalgic. My grandpa used to make it all the time because he's like, "Why do we have all this stale ass bread in the house? Here's how I can feed it to the kids. I'm just gonna dump a shit whack of sugar on it, and this is why I eat mold now." Anyway, our charity for the week. Burpee's gave me the
Mold
weirdest
is
look.
nostalgic.
It took me a
Listen.
second to process.
It's fine. If you want to hear about how I eat mold, hit me up on Twitter.
No, it's like I was like, why does bread? Oh, because it's stale bread.
Yeah, dude.
And you
All
just make it good. Got it. Cool.
So our charity for this week, it's the opposite of mold, because it's not horrible. We're
Is it sand? That's horrible. Never mind.
No, stop. That's no. Definitely not sand nor mold. Our charity for this week is Brave Space Alliance, which is the first Black-led, trans-led queer center located on the south side of Chicago, and they create and provide affirming and culturally competent services for the entire queer community of that city. So their website is bravespacealliance.org, and you should give them your money because they're doing amazing stuff over there. That was
Good God, that was loud.
So loud. I felt like a real R2 was next to my face.
Just
So
screaming.
yeah,
He would do that though.
I know.
Yeah, R2's a little shit.
Oh my God. Jesus. So I guess we'll talk about Star Wars now that I'm awake now, I guess.
Yeah,
Jesus
right.
Christ. All right. So we're starting a new book. Let us ask the question. When and where are we?
Space.
Neat.
The final frontier.
No!
Technically, we are on the frontier in this, because the Republic is not yet expanded to the part of space, like famously.
It's not really the final one though, because now they're
No, it's not
they're
the final one, like you-
Yeah.
But it is a frontier.
Chris, get your other fandoms out of my Star Wars podcast. Jesus fucking Christ. No, we're
Yo,
just-
Lower Decks comes back in like a week. I'm so hyped.
Oh my God. If Jacqueline is listening to this, she's also hype.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, like I said at the top, this is another High Republic book. So we are 200 years before Phantom Menace. And this book starts like just before the Legacy Run disaster that like the first phase of the High Republic is focused around. So if you've read Light of the Jedi, then you know that a ship exploded and went boom in the hyperspace and bad things happened.
It crashed and now there's ships everywhere.
Yeah, it's so true. So yeah, which is kind of like the inciting incident for our ragtag band of characters in this in this novel, having to yeet themselves into like Nowheresville somewhere on the space frontier, where
Yeah,
there's a creepy haunted space station.
It's like, oh, we have to leave hyperspace. I'm just gonna press this button, and it'll probably be fine.
Leox
The sun
so
is about to
chaotic.
fucking explode. We need to get into this haunted house.
I know. Jesus. It's if you were if you just took like bits of this podcast like of summarizing plot out of context, truly like you would never want a Star War ever in your life. You would just be like, what the fuck, and then moonwalk away. Which is hilarious because this book is so good. Like Burb and I have been texting each other back and forth, just being like, Claudia's done it again. Anyway, the haunted house is a abandoned Amex station, which I was excited to see, and I'm sure if you've read Bloodline, you were also excited to see. So Bloodline mentioned.
Yeah, thank you. Can we remind the class?
We
who they
absolutely
are?
can. We absolutely can while my dog barks in the background because he's annoying. So the Amexians were an ancient militaristic culture, as this book explains, but in Bloodline, which very different timeline, is the one that's centered around Leia's Senate career in her years before forming the Resistance. She encounters this sort of dark side terrorist group who are the self-styled Amexine warriors who are behind like an assassination attempt on her, and they're like buying all these ancient Sith artifacts, and they seem real bad. And I was always like very intrigued by this little invention that Claudia came up with, so I was like really happy to see them pop up here. The original Amexines, supposedly, I think the Amexine warriors were just kind of like adopting the name, if I recall correctly. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so. I don't
Okay.
think they had any actual connection, at least that we're aware of.
The connection is that they both like bad. So here we are in their haunted ass station full of dark side artifacts because
And plants.
and plants.
And droids that yell at you when you hurt the plants. And they try to poke you with their pointies.
Classic use of
These aren't the
pointies.
droids you're looking for.
Oh God. Great.
But yeah, and so the interesting thing about this space station to me is that, like, it's always funny when we're in the past and then they're like, we discovered something ancient. And I'm like, how ancient is it? Like,
Yeah, but it's also like, I don't know. I thought it was weird that it was ancient. Like all the ancient stuff seems to be kind of untouched, and they're like oohing and ahhing at it, and like, let's look at this haunted fucking statue. But meanwhile, smugglers are in there like writing, just graffitiing the walls about smuggler shit. Like Han Solo was here, XO.
God.
Famously in this timeline.
I mean, to be fair, people used to just like stupid graffiti is timeless. Really.
That is
Um,
true. They did
like-
that shit in ancient Rome.
Yeah, they did that shit in ancient Rome. I've seen, examples of like temples where like fucking dickhead colonizing explorers have just like literally just took the time with their little chisel and their little hammer to carve their name in the side of this fucking ancient ass temple because what the hell?
Yeah, it was interesting though, here in the station, because what's her name, was telling Leo X, the famous Pope, about it. I don't know how to pronounce either.
I say Leox.
Leox, yeah.
Leox is
What
correct.
was her name?
Affy?
Alfie? Affy?
Affy.
So Affy found the smugglers' graffiti, and it seems like nobody writes anything anymore. Like everything's digital. They don't have like analog books. It's all holocrons.
There's
and
no
they're like,
ancient
"Oh,
Jedi texts.
no ancient Jedi text to be found. They would not be found here. This is ancient spoopy shit. I don't know. I thought it was like, oh man, like the smugglers are, carving or writing with whatever tools, like with their hands or hand adjacent limbs. I don't know what species everyone is.
I think that's a fun point always for me, just because like I hate doing world building, but I do enjoy getting it when it's in like I just slap my microphone, Kristen. I do enjoy getting it, when it's like information doled out, not in a giant fucking Wikipedia style info dump, like these drips and grabs that we get of just like, in character, like being like, huh, that's curious. Especially in sci-fi, just because like, we expect futuristic shit, and because Star Wars is a whole world that they've created, like, especially since now that we're back in time, we have to think about like, well, what is the history of these things, and what would have been a realistic development timeline, I guess, for certain technologies and stuff. It's kind of like Luke gets his twink hand chopped off, and he gets a nice little synth flesh, whatever the fuck. Like, it looks like a hand. And then Anakin gets his fucking raccoon hand chopped off, and he gets a robot arm. So those sorts of things. That we're accounting for, which I think is really fascinating. I can finally finish Light of the Jedi, and like Bacta hasn't been invented yet, really. So yeah, did I steal your thought, Miranda?
You sure did steal my thought.
Sorry.
You're not. It's okay. But no, I think the thing too with like the writing on the wall, it really fits into like we haven't seen in any Star Wars media people physically writing, so it's like it's ancient even 200 years ago, it's not ancient, it's new, but they're like, hey, this is weird.
We've seen Ben Solo's calligraphy set though.
It's like if I, instead of like taking out my phone to check the time, I dragged a fucking sundial into the middle of the street and we're like, oh, it's 1:35.
Chris,
do you know about watches, Miranda?
I hate you. Who wears a watch?
I do. It's dead.
Nice.
Spaceships, yes. Watches, no.
Great. Also, I just want you all to know that if you hear any like strange noises, it's me opening the window to yeet myself out because Chris just made that horrible. Anyway.
Kate, you said you don't like writing, world building. Something. I'm just moving into the next point, if that's okay.
Oh, I was just gonna add.
No, Chris.
Just about this.
No, Chris. Wow.
Just about the station. I find it really like a really funny dichotomy because the Jedi are like, there is ancient evil here. We must investigate its source before it destroys everything that we love in the galaxy. And the smugglers are like, yeah, it's a fucking gas station.
Yeah, it's that's something too that we see here. Like, the Jedi, they're all high and mighty and shit, and like, oh, the Republic, we have all the knowledge in the galaxy. They've never they put the two ships next to each other, like one's smugglers or some shit, and one's some species that apparently can really tolerate radiation exposure. But Affy's like watching them make this decision. She's like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch this. Because the Jedi have no fucking clue. And she's like, yeah, it's a gas station.
She's so interesting. I mean, yeah, no, literally. It's just like, I'm just gonna go to the 7-Eleven and steal this 10 boxes of Slim Jims and be on my fucking way. Thanks, y'all. It's kind of incredible. What I really enjoy is that, in this part of like galactic history, because the Republic is only so big and they have not expanded out into the Outer Rim, we get a different view of just like how outsiders view the Jedi. Like, we've seen the whole like, I thought Jedi were a myth or a legend, or like they do weird space wizards, and then we got people in this book who live out in the boonies for all the Republic cares, and they're just like, who is she? Like it's they have no idea. They're just like, what the fuck? They're just like, you're monks, you're wizards, you're warriors. You're not allowed to fuck.
It's like, yeah, which one are you? It's like, oh, we use the Force. Oh, the Force. Yeah, I know her. It's like, do we use it to protect the Republic?
And they're like, why? They're like, why? What if you just stole some Slim Jims like a normal?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell it's peacetime, like just by the way that normals react to the Jedi and having never seen them. And like, you get this a little bit in like early prequel era, like before the Clone Wars, but like,
I mean, even then,
it is largely like
trade routes were real poppin',
Yeah. But yeah, it is always funny just to see the difference in reaction of like, this is not a time where I need to care about you, and so I don't.
They're doing just fine without the Republic's help, except for the part where the Nile like put their fucking ship in front of the Legacy run, so it blows to pieces and ruins everyone's time in hyperspace. So these fuckers have to go hang out at this spoopy gas station. But otherwise, it's peaceful.
Oh yeah, it's lovely. Definitely peaceful. here's my bad segue. But definitely peaceful in the minds of the Jedi grown-ups who are definitely doing great over here. Jesus Christ.
They are not doing great.
Holy shit. All right, so just to talk about
Jedi scum.
indeed. To talk about Comac and Orla, who are the ostensibly just like supposed to be mentors, I guess, for Reith, basically.
They're the adult Jedi.
They are. They're the grown-ups, and Mom and Dad are not all
Not doing
in.
Great.
No, they're not all in on this whole Jedi thing, which is just fucking great. So we've got Comac, who's just like, why not study all sides of the Force? If the dark side is part of the Force, then it's fine. And you as a reader are sitting there like, no, my friend. Oh God, that's how you turn into a spider.
He just wants to feel his feelings, okay? He has a
Yeah,
lot of them.
He does, and he's just like,
That is the problem.
Because he never really dealt with them, as we see.
Yeah, well, space therapy also didn't exist 200 fucking years ago, apparently. And then we have Orla, who's just like, I don't really agree with, any of this. But I still want to be in the club. So can you just make me like I don't know what to call it exactly, but
Wayseeker.
yeah, no, but I know, but
Wayseeker.
like,
Not to be confused with the Wayfinder.
Very different.
Wow. No, but like, I don't know. Like that's I know what the title is, but I'm trying to think of like what the word, like an offshoot or whatever the fuck. She's just like, I want to be allowed to like do my independent study and for no one
She
to
wants-
look at me.
She wants her own personal Jedi Reformation.
She does, exactly. And they're
Just
like
give her a ship.
they're battling with this internally, and Reith's just there like, la di da. I wish I had a book, like thinking everything's chill, and they're just like,
Yeah, he's going in like, I don't want to do this, but maybe we'll learn something. And fucking Comac and Orla rolled up, and like there was a line. It was in one of those little sections that was kind of from Reith's point of view, where he was like, it seemed like this glance that they exchanged would have been a joke if they had been laughing. And then like, when they both roll up to the vessel before they go off into space, they look at each other like, yes, you here on this trip to this place that super fucked us up 25 years ago, and we have not dealt with it. So we're just going to go head first into the danger and assume everything will be fine, even though there's no reason for it to be fine.
yeah, no, it's just great. It's super good. Poor Reith has no idea what is happening. This inner turmoil, but
He just wants to stay on Coruscant and read his books.
his favorite song is the library card song from Arthur. Verb is crying now. I mean,
You're not wrong.
I know.
He wants to read.
One thing that I love about Orla and Comac, though, is that like you would never find either of them in the Skywalker era
No. And
because
that's-
like can you imagine like modern Yoda and Mace Windu talking
Modern
to Orla
Yoda-
and being like, "Oh, you just want to like kind of go fuck off and like explore what you want to do? That seems like a great idea."
Modern Yoda would have been like, go up back and pick a switch. Like, shit. Like, he's not all right.
Isn't Yoda like on a sabbatical right now or some shit?
Yes. Well, from
He's
the
not
council.
Okay. So he's off like on fucking Dagobah, like.
We're gonna find out what he's off doing very soon.
We're going to find out why he has good relations with the Wookiees.
Not to my knowledge.
Damn. That's what I wanted.
But no, to build off your point, Chris, to piggyback off of that, to add to that, in this Skywalker era, there's like one kind of Jedi, or two if you want to differentiate between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Yes, that's exactly it. You're so right.
But here, and this is one of the things that I really love about the High Republic, is that, and this is the point I was going to make about world building before we stayed on that topic for a minute, it expands like our knowledge of the Jedi, and we do get that, and it's, here we really see that, like, one, there are a fuck ton of Jedi, there are temples everywhere. You know, it's a full like thriving order, and it's a point that they touch on a lot in this first half of the book. Like, not everybody can be a warrior monk. You know, some Jedi just want to read their books, and you know what? Well, we gotta teach them how to do the other things, 'cause like you still gotta be a Jedi. But if you want to just stay in the library, that's fine. If you want to do that and go talk and learn about the legends on the frontiers, then go do that.
No, I totally agree. I'm really enjoying that. Obviously the authors who are working on the High Republic are getting a lot more leeway because they don't have to worry about the Skywalker timeline as much and like all this other stuff. But they're also just like answering, I think, a lot of questions that about just this universe that the fandom has had for a while. If you're me and you read too much fucking fan fiction, you will, there's a lot of ponderment, about like just like what happens to the other Jedi who don't get to or want to be soldiers or warriors or travel, frankly. It's just like, for me, I'm always just like, is there such thing as janitor Jedi? Like this is a real question I have. And the way that this book talks about, and I think some of the other ones is the other High Republic books as well have talked about how, not every single Jedi can be sent to Coruscant to be trained. Like there are other outposts where younglings do grow up, which I think is really fascinating and speaks to the strength of the Order at this time. But yeah, no, I love how the authors, and I know Claudia has also, for her part, done her fair share of secret fanfic under some random AO3 username that she'll never tell anybody. And Kate Johnson does this as well. E.K. Johnson also still writes fanfiction. She just won't tell anybody her username, which I think is lovely. But I love that we've gotten to a point where the authors have been kind of steeped in the fandom in this way for such a long time, and even before they wrote for Star Wars, have been like entertaining these questions that have. If there were an FAQ for the fandom, like these are the things that like they would love for someone to answer, and then it's happening. And it's really, really cool. Everyone also knows that I really love my Disaster Jedi very much. And I don't mean Anakin just running around just pooping on everything. I mean like Kanan is like probably my favorite Jedi character. If we're not counting Leia, who decided to not do that, or Ahsoka, who rage quit. He is just like such a hot ass mess. Like, he has this whole hoe era before he like decides to get married and have a real job. So, I love seeing Jedi who are imperfect and are hot messes. And like Chris said, this is like the perfect era for that, because that would not be allowed. Like Qui-Gon just over here just being like, eating his fucking hemp or whatever the fuck. Like even that is getting him in trouble, So, yeah, I know, it's great. I just think it's lovely.
Yeah, and Qui-Gon is like he's a great example because he probably is the most radical of the prequel Jedi. And
he's not that radical.
Yeah, and like his form of radical is like, what if we look at the light side in like a different but still light side kind of way?
What if we did anything about fucking slavery?
Yeah, like it's like what if we just like got out of the classroom and actually like did some fixing shit. Whereas like now, and it is very similar, Kate, to you were saying how like there are Jedi around the galaxy, and I kind of do wonder if this is, I don't know that we know how many Jedi there are during the High Republic, but like we know there were 10,000-ish during the prequel era, but like it does feel like there are more.
I think so too.
Right now, like it feels like, I mean, or it's just nature of it being a smaller galaxy. Like they haven't spread into the outer rim yet, so they're more prevalent. But like they definitely seem like they have more leeway because they're not like as much of a precious resource, so to speak.
Yeah, no, they're not drafting child soldiers because they have none.
Well,
also Yoda's on
they're not drafting
sabbatical.
child soldiers so far.
Oh, good, great, cool.
They're still training those kids how to fight, man. Fucking
True.
Reese chops off someone's arm. Big
He's
Star
so
Wars move.
traumatized.
He is.
Sweet
He does not know how
baby.
to deal with it. He just wants to be a good Jedi, Read his books. Be pure.
Such a sweet baby. I was like that. There's this particular sentence in the book where he's having like kind of trauma flashbacks on cutting this dude's arm off, and there's this moment where he specifically thinks about how the weapon felt like in the movement as he was cutting through bone. And I was just thinking about that last night while I was brushing my teeth, and like that's gonna like fuck me up for a while. Like I'm not kidding. Like truly, that's gonna fuck me up for a while. I think that that was like I don't know. Claudia Gray's lovely, and I think she just has a lot of good details, and that was one of them. That's like I'm gonna be thinking about that for a while. Like that's living in my memory the same. Like I obviously it's not a trauma memory for me because I've never cut someone's arm off with a lightsaber, but like. It's those small details that I'm just like, oh, I'm almost like secondhand experiencing this, which I think is a cool thing in her writing.
Speaking of
Yes.
Jedi trauma,
Yay.
I touched on this earlier, but Orla and Comac are really like, yeah, we almost ruined our lives 25 years ago. They're building a big space station right in the spot where it happened. We'll volunteer for this shit.
When it's just like you don't need to just like challenge yourself to prove things when you know it's gonna be a bad time. Like I feel like I turned 30 and I was like, I don't have to try anymore, and I just don't understand this urge to like. And they're way past that. I don't understand this urge to just like I don't know, just like you can just not.
Comac's like actively having his war flashbacks during this time, and like. I get that, maybe he wants to resolve some things to come to a peace with himself about it. But, like, was this a good idea? Did you think that, like, the one place in the galaxy that fucked you up the most? And I think before they got on the vessel, he said it was, like, the spot where he became a Jedi. That wasn't a good time.
He became a man.
No, nobody's making you go here. And the whole time you have a bad feeling about this, but you're just going ahead.
Have the Jedi
Just-
ever had a good idea, like, one time? Like, like,
You
for
know,
$1, give me a
They should have
reasonable
not.
idea. This is, like, slightly off that topic, but just, I guess, related to the topic of Imperfect Jedi. One thing I really love about Wreath's character, besides the fact that he's just, like, a sweet, dumb nerd book baby, is, that he, too, is, like, imperfect in the sense that, like, he's not naturally good at stuff, like he's force sensitive, but not as much as the average Jedi, and so he has to work a little harder and put a little more effort in to just be able to do any of this stuff. And I just like I've always like we know that force sensitivity is kind of like a spectrum or a continuum, but we've never really seen this side of it where it's just like you make the cut, but you are at the bar, for natural force sensitivity and talent. And, of course that shapes him into the bookish, like, child that he is that, like, he's just like, if I have more knowledge, if I try harder, if I work harder, like, I can do this. And he can, but...
It pays off, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like, he's great at what he does, and he's empathetic little cherub, but I don't think we've ever seen. We spent so much of the Skywalker saga obviously focused on the Skywalkers, who are just like absolutely preternatural in their force abilities, and
They
so to
are
see
the force.
and to see a character like this, who's just like he's just a guy, I think is really appealing as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like you said, to see that that spectrum of force sensitivity. He's made the cut to be a Jedi, but one thing I thought was really interesting was when the Legacy Run disaster, like, happened. And this is me yelling about Finn being force sensitive in a side tangent.
Yes, please.
He like realized that something was wrong. Like, he felt it in the force, but Comac and Orla and Dez,
R.I.P.
they were like fucking, I mean, they were really shook by it because yeah, a lot of fucking people just died. Finn is force sensitive. He heard their screams when the whole fucking planet blew up. Anyway, like, you see him kind of not be in tune with the Force to that degree, but you still see him. Yeah, and one thing too is like he struggles with the mind trick, you know? Like he can't make people do what they want, but he can still use the Force to his advantage, and like, you know, he's a hardworking kind of guy. He reads up on things, he tries hard, and you know, he's almost like super utilitarian because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
No, he knows a little bit about everything. Like comics, like we have to do this really dangerous ritual, and we're just like, fuck yeah, I read about this in a book one time. I'm so pumped. And he's like, comics, like you could die or something, and Rita's like, okay, that is a thing, but also I'm so excited to do this fucking shit. And I'm like, oh my god, you are 17. Like,
and Comac's like, you know what, kid, just fucking knock yourself out.
yeah, exactly. And he does great, you know, at it, obviously, but it's just like, oh my god, like I was just like, Comax is out here like my back hurts, you know, like he's just like I'm so tired. Like, and, you know, it's fine. Burby, you wanted to talk about the Guild, which I think is a, you know, obviously just because the Republic's not on the frontier doesn't mean they have their own ways of figuring shit out and running business and stuff. And I think the Bind Guild is a great example of that. But you wanted to talk about them.
Yeah. I don't know if I have, like, coherent and complete thoughts, but, I mean, and this ties into the next point, too. They're one combined giant point about, you know, the Jedi working with the common folk of the galaxy.
These plebes. They don't even know what the Force is.
They do know what the Force. They've heard of the
but-
Force. They don't know what a fucking Jedi is, but they've heard of the Force.
But they're part of the Force in the same way we're just like, oh, my dog is an alive thing, you know? Like, that's kind of how it feels sometimes.
But like, first of all, and I know it's probably at the end, the reason is the Force, but whenever the Jedi kind of work with these normies, they're always like incredibly competent, which there's a whole galaxy of fucking people. Like, some raggedy ass ship rolls up to pick you up off Coruscant and yeet you into God knows where, the fucking galaxy's the frontier of the Republic, not the final frontier, but close to it. But yeah, like, you know, one of them is the foster daughter of this lady who runs this whole fucking, like, transport. Stop. Tony's biting me. Transportation, like, low-key smuggling, guild. And then the other guy is, I mean, high all the time, but, like,
bless him.
very smart, a very good pilot. He's like, yeah, I can drop out of hyperspace into real space and, like, not kill us. And fucking Geode.
Would die for Geode.
Geode is a prince.
Would do anything for Geode.
There was that line where, you know, Affy's like, oh, Geode's in his bunk recrystallizing, and I almost just, like, threw myself down the stairs because I was laughing so hard. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? He's just there, just
Yeah.
like, anyway.
But, like, I don't know. It's just, here are these, you know, quote-unquote ordinary people, beings in the galaxy. I'm like, but why is everybody spectacular? I know it's plot reasons. But, like, there's some shady shit going on with the Guild. There's some shady shit going on with the Guild and that haunted fucking space station. What's Geode's deal? What a fucking amazing rock. Like, you know, the Jedi just kind of, like, not reacting to, like, but taking him in is, like, one of my favorite parts of this book. Because it's, you know, they're like, oh, Affy does this. Leo X, the Pope, does this. And Geode did not say anything, and he did not move.
I love the dichotomy between, like, you know, like Affy and Leox just being like, Geode's a bro, you know, he's cool, and then the Jedi being like, and the Jedi just being out here like, it's a rock. Like, you know?
They're throwing their arms around him, like pulling him into the circle, having the
he's a buddy.
conversations, and the Jedi's, they're just fucking side-eyeing. Like, do you guys see? Do you see what I see? This is a rock.
I know.
It's a big rock, but it's a rock.
He's like literally just like I just envision him as just like a slab of granite, like he's a little sparkly, like
Oh, I
but
imagine him kind of as like a rounded conical kind of
Ooh.
thing.
I'm pretty sure there's
okay.
official art of Geode. Hang on, let me.
Oh
I think-
hell yeah!
I think he is a slab though.
He is a slab.
Okay. Which
Yeah,
feels more like flat.
I
to
didn't
me.
have a real point for this kind of section. It's just screaming about like I have a lot of questions about these folks. And also
No,
it's
yeah.
it's good too to see that, the Jedi Order, despite being like in much better shape at this point in galactic history, still cheap as hell. Still kind of a train wreck. Like
Cheap as hell.
they
love it.
are.
No, you're right.
The original ride, like, oh, they got to fix the alternator, and so then like the fucking 200-year-old version of the goddamn Millennium Falcon shows up, and they're like, "Are we getting in this?"
What a piece.
I don't
Of
think this was
junk.
made for passenger transport. and Affy and Leax come off the ship like, yeah, we're not built for passenger transport, but we can give you some cots.
I know, it's
Like,
so
they're-
good.
They're going
so great.
across the galaxy
I know.
to the fucking Republic's like shining moment in some fucking beater.
I know. But and also they get to Coruscant and they're like, this isn't that great. Which is my
So, yeah,
favorite.
which is a mood though. They're like, yeah, it was all hyped up and shit. And like, also side note, I did love the prologue that we got to see Coruscant just like under construction still.
Yes. I love that so
It's
much.
like, oh, they're still building stuff,
No,
And
that
they're-
was lovely.
going around the things.
You're flapping your hand.
What are these things?
The
The
speeders?
scaffolding
Buildings?
bitches. The
The scaf-
scaffolding bitches.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sticking with buildings on this one.
The crane stuff.
Yeah.
On the buildings when you build the buildings.
Yeah, is that not just scaffolding?
Scaffolding.
Oh,
Or
it's just
cranes.
scaffolding. Cool.
You're like, what are those scaffolding crane bitches?
The
Well,
big,
you
the
see
big
Miranda.
construction ones.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
called cranes.
Yeah, those bitches.
Jesus
was cool.
Christ. Just to recover from that. I will say that one of my favorite bits of the first half of this book is right at the beginning when I think it's Wraith who gets on the ship and he's just like, well, what's the frontier like? And I can't remember if it's Leox or Affy who answers him, but they're just like, maybe it's the frontier to you, bitch, but it's home. Like, and it's just like,
It's not the frontier.
right, exactly. It's just like, it's not this, I don't know, this other world, I guess, that Wreath is expecting it to be, and he does like really otherize it, and I think that's a kind of an interesting analogy. We were talking a little bit when we were reading A Test of Courage about the idea of space colonization and the Republic specifically trying not to like colonize already inhabited planets that have an indigenous population, and I think this is another one of those like, I guess, like parallels to our world that's kind of like being addressed in terms of just like, well, maybe this was the new world to dumb white people, but native folks have been here for how long? Like, this is not news. And you are not a fucking brilliant genius for accidentally crash landing your fucking boat into this pile of rocks. So yeah, I just really love that aspect of it.
Yeah. Also, Wreath has never left his apartment before. And it's like,
Oh,
there's places outside. Like, I've been to places outside of Coruscant, but this is really far.
This is Wreath's first time east of the capital. It's fine.
What?
DC joke? God, okay, never mind.
Oh,
I got
Lord.
it. I got it. I was thinking more of like he's here in space banjos, and they're just like, we just live here, man. Like,
See,
they
my
got
thing
fucking
is,
back to growing on that planet.
whereas my thing is when the vessel comes and they're like, Coruscant isn't that great. It's like people who like, go to New York for the first time and they're like, it smells like pee. And I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it's, like I get it, but it's Coruscant smells like pee.
Yeah, it just
It's just
does.
big.
Pee and dead bodies. So I just want to quickly, and I'm sure we'll get into this more next episode once we read the rest of the book and also in the wrap up. But Claudia's lovely. She's just like such a multi-talented writer, and I just wanted to like address a few things here. So this is another one of her books that kind of it's a YA book for sure, because Reith and Affy are obviously the main characters. But we do get stuff from Comac and Orla's perspective, and they're obviously older. And the last time we saw, I think, her do this in Star Wars, in terms of a YA book that crossed over into adult characters, was Lost Stars, because that just spans such a humongous amount of time. But for me, I think like what makes this work is we are spanning in certain respects a large amount of time of Comac and Orla's lives, and you know, to get those flashbacks from 25 years earlier and then to see them in the present, dealing with the Legacy Run situation, I think adds a lot to their characters. Like, people are always just like, don't do flashbacks. Like, if you're doing a flashback, then you're not starting the story in the right place. But I actually think that like because what happened 25 years earlier was such a pivotal moment for them and their development as people, as friends, as Jedi, and then seeing them return to that space, like that does tell a complete story. And it is worth it to, number one, have the flashbacks. Number two, to have them being older characters, providing more information, I guess, on this situation, that, you know, obviously this is information that Reith doesn't have because he is 2 years old.
Babby. And this is probably something we'll talk about like in the wrap up and even in the second half of the book too, but I think the flashbacks are really valuable. One, because we get to see like how Orla and Comac have like taken the lessons learned from it and apply it. But also there's a couple of times in the section where like they both kind of acknowledge, yeah, we grew into very different Jedi. And they are very different. Like, you know, they're both imperfect. They both kind of have their things, but like they have a very strong bond still. And you can see it. I mean, we're seeing like how it formed, but we see it in action on Spoopy Station. So
Yes. No, absolutely. I mean, like, the difference between Comac being like, I ain't reading these fairy tales, I don't give a flying fuck, and him being and then turning into a folklorist because he was so traumatized by not having read the fucking snake stories before.
You gotta read the snake stories.
You
man.
gotta do your homework, bro.
It's like, there's snakes
gotta
carved into
give.
these cave walls. You
Right. And oh my fucking god. But yeah, no, him just being like, snakes, that's a cool little drawing they drew. Oh my fucking god, there's a snake trying to eat me.
Yeah.
It's
Orla's like, should we pay attention to the snakes carved into these walls? And everyone's like, no.
nah.
We'll
And
be fine.
Comac just did not do his homework. I don't know what he was doing on the voyage over, but he was not being good. But yeah, no, like this, like, it's you know, there's also this moment of just like, I'm sure we'll see more of Orla. I mean, obviously this is a horrible, in the flashbacks, a horrible time in Orla's life, just being, you know, crash landing on a planet. This dude just died. I'm sure more will happen that will explain to us like why she is deciding to become a way seeker and go even further off this path, because she's already asking questions, and I think she's asking questions that like any teenager would naturally ask at this point. But the fact that she keeps asking these questions and keeps getting unsatisfying answers is, I don't know, I'm gonna be interested to read more of the flashbacks and see how she got to that point.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to touch on, and we've been saying it this whole time, that this fucking space station is haunted as hell, but I just wanted to talk about this just as a haunted house story, basically, because it is a very specific trope and a very specific genre, and it's one we've seen in Star Wars many times, especially in animation. Like, you know, there's always that episode where they go to a abandoned space station to get supplies, and it's like haunted as fuck, or it's infested with monkeys. If you watch Resistance,
I was gonna say, Poe Dameron famously hates monkeys.
Famously hates monkeys. But I think that just having this be on the page as opposed to a visual gives a different spin on the Star Wars inflected haunted house story, in that you know, by all appearances, at least at first, like, this place is like kind of beautiful. Like, it's got like this lovely dome that looks out into space. There's plenty of fresh air. There's cool plants growing everywhere. Like, there's sort of there's like, there's like that beauty in abandoned places that like folks will like bust into like these old you know built up areas and like take photos and stuff like that. Or like if you're playing like The Last of Us or something like that, where like there's a beauty in the ruin, right? And I think that's something that works on the page, but like if you saw it visually, it would feel weird in a lot of ways. In most cases, and so I think it's cool that this is something you can play with it. At least Claudia, yeah.
I think like I'm not like a big horror person. I've been leaning into it a little bit the last couple of years. So I have seen 3 Mike Flanagan shows, and I've read
That's
2 or 3 like queer horror sci-fi books, and like it's a different experience. If we were to see, and I hate to bring up Rome again because I'm a white nerd, but like you think of the ruins like with the overgrowth on them, and there's trees and shit everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if we were to see that on screen, unless they added in like spoopy music, it's like, oh, look at this, like what is the word for this, the excuse me, like the places in passing, like that kind of like abandoned shopping malls, gas stations, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I can't remember exactly what the thing is either.
It's
but
like
yeah.
I feel like you would just kind of get that feeling
Yeah,
if we were just to see it, but
right.
I think it helps that we're following this through the eyes of Jedi, who can use the Force to sense all sort of senses, and they're like, oh, and what the thing that gets me is the statues,
Yeah,
and like it takes them a long time to realize that like the statue of this queen or whatever, like you'd think it's very, I don't know what the word I'm looking, but like you think of it in like a positive kind of light, and then they're like,
like in a Thrawn, like very art kind of way, like for sure.
yeah. For also Thrawn,
Yes.
he would love this book. But then they feel the bad Force vibes around the statues, and they're like, oh, this is bad actually, and like it's that slow realization that you get as they get, and you can't see anything, you can't hear anything, so you just get the vibes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Also,
No.
that space station's fucking haunted. What's going on downstairs?
I don't like any of well.
It's
there are
got a
people
haunted basement.
people getting fucking irradiated is what's fucking happening. Yeah, no. Like I was talking to Chris about this off pod because we're bad, and the only like thing that we could think of that has this kind of like almost like pretty like the darkness beneath the beauty aspect to it, at least in modern like visual media, is Midsommar, and that's not a haunted house story. Obviously, that's a cult story, but it's such a tricky thing to pull off if you're doing visuals, because like we're used to however many years of just like watching things and just understanding that light is good and dark is bad. I think it's a particular thing that can only be pulled off like with this kind of finesse in literature.
Round his friend.
There's
Right.
a specific sentence that I don't remember exactly, but it really, really kind of pulls all of this together when Orla and Comac are first in there, and like having those first like holy shit, this shit is bad kind of moment, and they're saying like they're talking about shadows, and Affy's standing there like, you are bathed in light.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no physical shadows.
Mm-hmm.
The vibes are off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the point.
yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna, we'll talk much more about this as this book goes on, and very much as we continue into the rest of Phase 1 of the High Republic, because the horror elements grow in a big way. But
Give me the haunted shit.
but honestly, like horror is something that like, and you could say this really about most genres, but like horror is a genre that Star Wars desperately needs to expand into, and I say that as most genres because Star Wars desperately needs to get out of the like kind of trite space adventure is everything genre. Like, it has a place and it's glorious, don't get me wrong, but like, you know, you look at the sequel trilogy and it's just like need to like focus on
Vibes.
vibes only, and it's like you could have done this in a way that's horror, in a way that advanced things, where it's like you don't need to know everything, but instead you chose to go halfway and be like, you need to know everything, but also here's some vibes for you. And like, it's
mostly JJ. I mean, that moment with
it is mostly JJ.
in the Last Jedi with Rey in the cave is that moment of the uncanny that I think is like what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing that's not completely explained. Like the Dark Side cave obviously is the parallel in Empire, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, to me, like, yeah, it's the uncanny, but it's also the unknown. And I feel like the embracing of the unknown is something that Star Wars is very bad about doing, and that horror as a genre is much better about doing, because it's like, it is about vibes, but it's okay that it's about vibes, because that's the point of it. And like, I'll be interested to see as we get more shows, like particularly The Acolyte. Really, The Acolyte is like what I'm pinning all my hopes on for the future of Star Wars casually.
just the Mandel Stenberg things.
Just
not
listen,
that it's
if we
fair
had to pin hopes on anybody.
Okay, not that it's fair to pin all our hopes on a black woman.
No, it's not at all. But
yeah.
like, just like the general thought of getting out of the tropes, getting out of the formula.
or getting into different tropes, because like the thing is that like I think a lot of marginalized creators are like Jordan Peele, or you know, like I can list off a million names if I weren't drunk already. You know, I think one of the at least for me, like one of the reasons why I work in genre is because the tropes are there, but they are there's such ripe with opportunity to talk about marginalization or difference or lived experience. Like you were saying, like horror is one giant metaphor for our fears of the unknown, or you know, our fears of things that are known, like our fears of racial violence or anything else. But when you put it into a metaphor, it's more easily digestible by people. I won't
White
specify what flavor. There you go, the vanilla flavor.
She means white people.
I sure do. But like, you know, it's like it's so ripe for just, you know, talking about people's lived experience and talking about honestly, like contemporary political issues, which is what Star Wars has always done, contrary to dumb white people belief.
It's literally about Vietnam.
I know, it drives me nuts. Anyway, you know, like all these things, like they're, you know, I would love for Star Wars to explore these things. Like Marvel is doing a wonderful job, I think, of just like going into different genres and bringing in all these different creators and telling all these really important stories. And literally, like Chris and I will be sitting there watching like Ms. Marvel or watching Moon Knight or you know, what have you, and we'll just look at each other at, you know, certain moments where, you know, like we understand that this is a moment where maybe we don't feel seen, but someone out there absolutely does, who has never been seen before, and we're just like, Star Wars could never, and that's really fucking sad.
It is, especially because like if there's any universe you could pull that shit off in, it's the one with the magical force that has no reason.
It's faking in space.
It's faking in space. I don't know what to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Star Wars goes. And it's, you know, I think it's also interesting that the Acolyte is in the High Republic in terms of timeline. Like, so it's getting out of the era of Tatooine being the most important planet in the Outer Rim. Like, it's out of the era of we could see a Skywalker at any time. Like, and I'm excited for Andor, but I mean, it's the same fucking thing. Everybody's like, who are we going to see? And I'm like, probably anybody we can.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni's hat.
It's Skywalker is a cake. I don't know what to tell you. They're all cakes. You don't think they're going to be cakes, but then you cut into them. The joke made sense in my head, I swear.
That took me a minute to get there.
That is, I'm sorry I didn't get that at first, because that's such a good fucking joke. All right, that's it. That's the pod.
Oh, Geode is a slab. I finally clicked on the link.
This is true.
I don't. Yeah. He's Vintian. He's from Vint.
Sure is.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Book Wars Pod. Continue to stay safe from COVID and monkeypox and really just the world.
Being alive.
Our next episode, we're going to be reading the rest of Into the Dark by Claudia Gray. So that's chapter 13 through to the end. And then after that, we're going to be talking about comics a little bit, specifically the High Republic Adventures by IDW, or published by IDW, written by Dana Jose Older. So it'll be a lot of fun. If you have the means, first and foremost, donate to the Brave Space Alliance at bravespacealliance.org. Then, if you have something left over and you want to support us, you can donate to the Toshi Station Radio Patreon or give us coffee at ko-fi.com/bookcourse-pod. All of us here, including Argos, Cerberus, Jasper, Orca, and Tony, appreciate anything you can do, including just listening. Our theme song is Whiz Bang by Poddington Bear. Our logo and artwork are by Joby Terra Design. And our audio and production are done, as always, by Kristen McDonald. I am Chris. For Miranda, Kate, Kristen, and Rana, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Is it?
Can you guys
I
hear it?
Something's
'Cause I
supposed to be
can't-
happening?
I can't hear it.
I saw Burb dancing, and I was confused.
I know. I was like,
I was
then I
ready to
realized
go,
it
and
was
I was
Burb.
like,